I would say one of the reasons why I started working in cloud and cloud security space, specifically because the bar to entry has always been low. Full-time job and content creation, I don't think people realize how hard it is to balance the
two. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Tech Certified podcast. I'm your host, caleboni.certified, and this is the podcast where we interview tech creators and tech professionals who inspire us on our journeys in the tech industry. We have a special guest today. Our guest today is a well-known face in the world of cloud and cloud security. Our guest is a Chief Information Security Officer, community builder, podcast hoster, and the host of the Cloud Security podcast, where he speaks to cloud security leaders and professionals on what's hot in cloud security. Ashish, how are you doing today?
Good, Caleb. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Amazing. Of course, it's really great to have you. And let's get straight into it. The first question I just want to ask you, just to get to know you a little bit, is for you to just, give a little introduction and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, man. So I have been cybersecurity for a little over 13 plus years now. If it's not obvious from the gray beard that people might see in the video who watch the YouTube video. But I've been in the cybersecurity industry for a while. Over the last, I would want to say 7-8 years, I've been primarily focusing on cloud and cloud security, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Kubernetes security, and now dabbling into the AI security world as well. But primarily, I would say I'm a technical person at heart. I've always been technical. Even till today, I think one of the reasons why Cloud Security Podcast came into fruition was because I wanted to remain technical while being a CISO. So I wanted to reach out to people who are doing an awesome job and learning from them as well. And that's where the whole Cloud Security Podcast came in. And now we also have something called AI Cybersecurity Podcast, which is basically answering CISO questions for why people care about AI and how should we secure it. But man, that's probably like the short intro, but I can go on. Otherwise, people can Google me as well. People find a lot of information.
Yeah, thanks for that introduction. I think one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was, why cloud security? I mean, of course, as a CISO and someone working in cyber, there are so many areas in cybersecurity, not to talk about like the whole tech industry.
Yeah.
And why, of all those areas, is the focus on cloud security, and what led you to kind of focus on that and even start the podcast on that?
Yeah, awesome. It's a great question. I would say one of the reasons why I started working in the cloud and cloud security space, specifically because the bar to entry has always been low. And by that, I don't mean that if you don't have any basic IT fundamentals, you can get into cloud security. I would say if you have the foundational pieces, if you've been in IT for some time, you understand networking, you understand some of the foundational pieces required for just knowing IT in general, even if it's not coding, cloud was a good it's almost like an equalizer, for lack of a better word, where there was a whole generation of people like me and others who have spent a lot of time in data centers and probably hated every minute of it. And then there's this new thing that comes up where a lot of us were not aware of it, but a lot of people who are starting today have the opportunity to pick up and go, oh, I know IT. I've been trying to get into cybersecurity for some time, and I just need to apply cybersecurity to the existing knowledge that I have, and I can actually do this thing. Obviously, beyond the certification and everything that people are doing, the one thing that made it even obvious was the fact that when I started doing this 7 years ago, Amazon was the only player. There was no Azure, there was no GCP.
Yeah.
And they were still establishing themselves. They were going hard and betting your money. Not that I bet on anything, but if you were to bet your money on like the Amazons of the world, Microsoft of the world, Google of the world, I would say it makes sense. You kind of like, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. This is not going to disappear. And that was also one of the signs that, okay, this is going to be here to stay. Like the same as most people talk about where NFT came out and blockchain came out. Not that I'm saying they're irrelevant, but they were almost like a hype cycle. They kind of came in, everyone made some money, lost a lot of money, and then moved on with their life. I feel like at that point in time, it was still very evident based on the evidence around where Amazon had already expanded beyond US to Australia. Australia is where I was before this. That's where I started my journey in cybersecurity. and it became obvious and I say we, I mean, Australia was the largest consumer of Amazon Web Services 7 years ago, outside of US. Like that's how much consumption was. So it was even more
Right.
obvious. Like, comparatively, it's not that big a country in terms of tech and how many people are in tech compared to the US, but we were still one of the biggest consumers. Was an obvious sign. And that equalizer part is where I would say that definitely kind of leveled the playing field. I did not find anything initially because I was trying to get into that field myself. I was a security architect back then, trying to figure
Right.
out how do I do security in cloud. Didn't find a lot of information on it. That's around the same time that COVID hit. A lot of people may have already heard the story from me before, but the Melbourne, Australia, where I was, we were in lockdown, and I didn't. This is kind of like literally what you and I are doing at the moment, Caleb. It's kind of how it
Yeah.
started, where you and I just bring up people and go, hey man, Sunday morning I'm free. Do you want to jump on a call and just talk about cloud? And I want to know what you guys are doing. And I was already trying to do cloud at my workplace. By the time COVID came around, I was already a CISO, and I started working more closely with AWS. We started working with Google, Azure, and it was just getting too much. And I'm like, I don't know how many people learn this, how people keep up with it. And in a
Mm.
way, the silver lining from COVID, even though it was totally horrible and there's a lot of negative experience around it, the silver lining for, at least for me and my co-founder, was that we found that little community that we had been, I guess, in a way, brewing without even knowing that we've been growing. We ended up hitting the top 100 for for Apple in the first year of being
Wow.
live on the internet. I would say a bit of the hype cycle because everyone was stuck at home anyway. So I'm like, I want to say it was from a
Yeah.
timing perspective, it was luck as well. So I would not just say it was my charm that brought people over to the podcast, but a part of it was definitely that. So that was one of the reasons why we decided to start talking about cloud security, because there was not many people talking about it, and we started talking about it. Turns out people wanted to know more. Now 5 years in, we're still talking about it.
Wow. That's a really good story, and it's interesting because I feel like the cloud security industry. I could say for this channel, there's a lot of people in the audience that watch this channel that are really interested in this area and getting into this area. So today's video has been kindly sponsored by Cloudways. Cloudways provides fast and reliable cloud hosting solutions for digital agencies, e-commerce stores, and online businesses. As a managed cloud provider, Cloudways provides the flexibility to manage your applications or websites on top cloud infrastructures like AWS, DigitalOcean, and even Google Cloud. Cloudways provides world-class hosting solutions for WordPress, Magento, Laravel, and PHP applications. The platform ensures fast and reliable performance, high availability to host high-traffic sites. Plus, with Cloudways Autonomous, enjoy fully managed hosting that auto-scales to meet the needs of your growing business. Cloudways provides a variety of options. Simply click the link in the description below to try it out for completely free. Big thank you to Cloudways for sponsoring this video. And finding ways to get in. What do they need to know? What do they need to learn to get their first role in cloud security? A lot of the time cloud in general, but some people are really focused on cloud security.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, whilst we have you, because of your understanding of this area, and of course, speaking to so many people who work in this area, what are those key skills to understand and work on and know to be able to thrive in this industry?
Sure. I would make an assumption here that if anyone who's watching this wants to get into cloud security, having basic foundational knowledge for IT should just be a given. The reason, like, I get a lot of reach out from asking people who would just say, hey, I want to look for an analyst role in cloud security. I would say the likelihood of you finding that would be fairly low, because think about the kind of companies that look for an analyst role. They're not like the small companies. They are the big companies, like the banks would look for it, the financial institutes, oil and gas. Take a big industry, they're all looking for those. And they're not looking for someone who's just doing cloud. They're looking for someone who can be across other things as well. Because as an analyst, you're supposed to be across many other things. The way I personally see, and at least when we have hired for it, and this is what I encourage people for as well, the reason I say it's a low bar is because if you have, like, say, I have met people who have done the CompTIA Network Plus, CompTIA Security Plus. They've been
Yeah.
working on own passion projects, personal projects for, hey, this is a business use case. I've been documenting that on the internet and I can talk about it in length. I have seen that to be a better approach to find a job in cloud security, which is ultimately the goal for a lot of people. It's not just doing a certification as much as every certification provider would tell you out there. Even though the title of the certificate's a bit deceiving, because like, oh, it's a what's the word for it? AWS Solution Architect Professional, AWS Solution Architect
Yeah.
Associate. Similar for, I think the Google Cloud one is a Cloud Security Google something. Azure has a similar one. It may have the title of that, but the honest answer to that is when a professional looks at those certification, the first thing they come to mind is, oh, okay, so you have a good understanding of the services that are provided by that cloud service provider. It does
Yeah.
not give the person the confidence to feel that you can help me with the project. I would still need to work with you on that. And that the reason I bring that up is because as a skill set, if you're trying to build something, I would say definitely if you have not got the fundamentals, get the fundamentals in first. That would
Yeah.
definitely help you quite a bit, irrespective of AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud, whichever one you go for. Another one, if you are more already a technical person who enjoys Linux and knows about containers, definitely look at Kubernetes. That's again one of those fields where it's a low bar to entry because just it is still a big unknown for a lot of people, even though it's been there for I want to say 9 8 9 years. Similar space, and they're definitely growing. So from skill set perspective, if you already have the IT fundamentals covered, the next thing I would understand is every cloud service provider, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, has example architectures that are available, I think, on their GitHub as well as on the documentation page. More than happy to send them over if someone wants to reach out as well. But the reason I point you there is that gives you an understanding of how businesses implement that in their organization, because that's what's going to help you in the interview.
Right.
That's what you're actually going to do in a job. It's not going to be which Azure service are you going to use for AI, protecting AI applications. There is no
Right.
service that does that. I think they're trying to work on it, but irrespective of the answer being, it's not the employer would not care about the fact that how many services can you remember. It's more about, hey, I have a problem. It's like going to a mechanic. You don't go to a mechanic because you want to buy a car. You go to a mechanic to like, hey, I need to fix my brakes are loose, or like it's a specific problem you're trying to solve. That's what they're to solve.
Yeah.
And in a way, you're trying to be that mechanic for the organization where, okay, what are you trying to solve? Oh, we want to expand into AWS or Azure. We want someone to help us build the entire architecture for what that would look like. Or another project could be the fact that, hey, by the way, we have recently started working on building our security uplift program for Google. We're looking to improve identity access management. What do you think we should do? And even listing out 5 or 6 examples. And by the way, you can ask ChatGPT for this as well. You don't really have to like be an expert and start learning like that. Those are skills I would say I would invest more time on. The certifications are good because at least it helps you get through that first HR door of knowing, oh, you have a certification. But when it comes to the interview, they'll be expecting you to at least have a few examples for business use cases where you can say, oh, I learned this technology. Like I learned Azure Sentinel, which helps me do threat intelligence. I made my own playbook, things like that. Those are solid examples. You go, oh yeah, I want this person because I think better than saying I have certification. Hopefully, I mean, I'm curious to know about you as well. If you feel you agree, you disagree, by the way.
Yeah, I do agree. And I think it's super important to have those foundations. It's not, I think cybersecurity in general, you need those IT foundations and you can't just sort of, jump into a cybersecurity role after doing one certification. And I think that's pretty clear to everyone. Oh, it should be.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people and who message me or who comment, I've had a few questions like, I just got the AZ900 or the cloud practitioner. What jobs can I apply for? And it's like, you just started. There's a lot more to do.
Like, you actually feel bad. How do you honestly tell the person that it's only part of the process? It's not even like you're not even at the door yet.
Yeah, and honestly, I tend to encourage people to go after doing projects and doing those practicals and doing those labs to actually get some hands-on technical understanding of things, of how things work, so that when you do get to an interview stage, you can actually explain it to whoever you're being interviewed by.
Yeah, awesome. Because I mean, I started doing this thing because, funny enough, there is actually not a lot of courses on the internet that talk about cloud security as well. And I think we started a free monthly class that we run every month. It's the Cloud Security Bootcamp is what we call it. But the idea is once a month, we get to a 1 hour session on a topic. It's a business use case that people can walk away with and hopefully make a blog or write a portfolio, put it in the resume, do it themselves. Unfortunately, that's also not there, man. So, I mean, I hope they kind of do something about the information you're sharing on your channel as well. It's definitely worth it to at least know the fundamentals and do some project plans. So, yeah,
definitely.
I'll stop talking because I think you and I are on the same page.
Cool. I've got loads more questions. Let's move on. And one thing I ask every guest that comes on here or that's going to be coming on here during this podcast is to share one really interesting story from your journey in cloud. It could be good, it could be bad, but one interesting story, if you have one, from your journey.
I probably would give an example of, actually, funny enough, I'm giving a talk. There's a cybersecurity conference called RSA. I spoke at BSATS London as well about this a couple of months ago. That talks about, so the Cloud Security Bootcamp example that I was giving, we run the website. It's called cloudsecuritybootcamp.com. And as part of the training we were running, it's only a few months ago, one of the exercise that we had, or one of the class we had, was we had Terraform being used to deploy infrastructure in AWS. And as part of that, we had submitted, I guess, so for people who are probably not familiar with Terraform, it's an infrastructure as code language. And the intent behind that was we wanted to show a business use case where how you can use infrastructure as code to deploy infrastructure into AWS. And for that, you need something called an access key, which is provided by AWS. And that's how Terraform works, at least the Terraform, which is on your laptop. And as we were doing that, we obviously had to show the access key that we were using. We didn't really delete the access key, and for people who don't understand access keys, it's just like you're leaving a username password on the internet kind of a thing for people to watch. And we did not delete that. And someone in the audience made a note of it, went back to the video, made a note of it, and recorded a whole video on what they could have done in our AWS account and how much not protected it was, I guess, for lack of a better word. They made a whole video about it. They said, hey, man, I really enjoyed the class, but I just wanted to show you kind of how deep I got into your network and all of that. But he recorded the video about it, shared like a private link video with me on one of those YouTube videos. And I was super grateful, by the way. I'm still grateful to the person. I won't name them, but that they could have just given us thousands of dollars a bill, which I could not have afforded. But instead, they chose to share how what they could have done, and they just wanted me to know. And I decided to just share that with the public as well. Funny enough, others people wanted to hear about it as well, so it got picked up at one of the biggest conferences in the world, which is RSA. I spoke about it at BSAT London as well. And it's funny, I think the reason I bring that story up is because A, I'm grateful for the researcher to be able to be more of a researcher than a malicious attacker. And B, they came genuinely from a point of, I wanted to help. And because you guys are doing something, I want to kind of give back in a way. So me being grateful for, it's an awesome community to be part of, is kind of where I'm coming from. That, hey, everyone here to help. If you're starting today, I feel the cloud security community, at least from my personal experience of the last 7 years, has been very welcoming. And for people who are starting new as well, if you're looking for projects and otherwise, it's definitely very much of the ethos that we can come in, which unfortunately has not been true before. And that's what, at least in my mind, makes this story interesting, is that there's always been this viewpoint that cybersecurity is a very gated community. Unless you've done a CISP or insert certificate over here, you're not getting in. Those people have spent years on it. I definitely find I truly believe cloud security has lowered the bar quite a bit for a lot of people to get in, as long as you have those basic things that you're marking for. I would be surprised if people are not able to get a job from it. But though that, I just want to share that story because I think it's going to be public out in the internet soon, anyways. But it's definitely something that reminds me that we are a good bunch of helpful people who just want good things.
Thanks. That's a great story. And another thing I wanted to ask you whilst we have you is, about your content creation journey.
Yeah.
With the two podcasts you are part of now, and how have you found that journey, and what sort of inspires you to put out content, to run a podcast, to speak to people? What's your inspiration, and how do you find that experience?
I would say I'll probably say I'm just leaning into what I already am. I think that's probably the easiest way to explain it, man. So before I started doing the Cloud Security podcast, I was already creating content for men's fashion. I was already creating content for travel, for food. So I've always been like, ask anyone in our generation, we're all on TikTok and Instagram. I was already consuming a lot of videos before Reels was a thing. I was already doing a lot of TikTok before TikTok was like, I mean, I was still doing those dance videos before. I was like, oh, I can actually use this. I actually genuinely thought that I could never get to a point where I can create content for cybersecurity, which would be helpful for people. And I just didn't have the framework. But now that I have the framework for how I can help other people, I've kind of like I've brought my own element of men's fashion into cybersecurity. I've brought my own element into how I've enjoyed content into cybersecurity. That's kind of which is why I said I've just been myself, and that's been my inspiration because I've always enjoyed creating content. And I think I've always been of the ethos that I want to be able to help people. So that definitely like worthwhile calling out my co-founder and my mission, because we got our jobs through the community. We were organizing meetups or going to meetups, meeting people like yourself and others, and just being, I guess, nice and helpful with other people, just genuinely trying to help other people if we can help them. That is the reason I got my first job. Like, literally till today, I'm thankful to the person who recommended me. And I would have not gotten that job if the person did not give me a chance. And this is, by the way, this is back in Australia. I was still an immigrant as well, so it wasn't like I'm. This whole, I mean, I guess the whole legal thing aside, just getting an opportunity to start in cybersecurity in a world where generally people would consider cybersecurity to be gated was definitely interesting for me. And now that we have had some experience, both my co-founder and I try and, I guess, hopefully be that door for other people to come in as well. That definitely is the inspiration. That's one of the reasons why we have continued for 5 years, and we've started more ways to help people. And that's where the Cloud Security Bootcamp, that's where AI Cybersecurity Podcast, there's like Cloud Security Podcast as well. I would say that's kind of where my inspiration is. And in terms of, I would love to say it's my genuine charm that makes people come to the podcast, but it's actually the value that the guests provide. We've been lucky to have people who are from Netflix, from LinkedIn, from Twilio, from Twitter, like the kind of companies I never thought I would be interacting with as colleagues, as friends. I call them friends now, and they basically hang out with me when we go and meet them in the cities. Like that, all that is genuinely just me. I just love meeting people, getting to know them. So I would say that's my inspiration. I mean, I hope that that's a good answer for what you were looking for.
Definitely.
I don't have anything philosophical, unfortunately.
No, that's a really good answer, and I think a lot of the audience that watch our channel would be really interested in cloud security podcast and AI cybersecurity podcast as well. So if you haven't seen that yet and you're watching this, definitely take a look at that.
I appreciate that.
Another thing I wanted to ask was about your favorite podcast, which you've had on cloud security podcast or AI cybersecurity podcast. Wait, stop. There is no way you've listened to this podcast all this way and have not subscribed to the channel. Some of you have not even liked the video. If you've taken any value from this podcast, please subscribe to the channel, caleboni.certified, and leave a like on this video so it can get out to as many people as possible. And you never know, leaving a like might actually give you some good luck. Okay, that's enough. Let's get back to the podcast. What's been your favorite guest that you've had on
it's like asking you who's your favorite artist. Like, it's like is it Drake or is it Jay-Z?
I could say that.
So I would say it's hard to pick one favorite, but the one that I would say was a game changer in a lot of ways, and was an episode that I did with Kelsey Hightower. He is, I think, he's now retired. He used to be he used to be a fellow or something he's quite up there. He used to do keynotes for Google Cloud and Google, and he used to talk about Kubernetes. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that what I loved about the interview was that he just had such a gift for simplifying everything technology into something super simple. I recorded an episode with him at KubeCon in Paris last week, and we were talking about AI and the examples he gave, and I was like, "Damn, dude! Like, how do you even come up with
Mm.
these examples?" And it's such a simple thing that anyone can understand, and I can understand why he's working with executives these days. And to give you an example, we were talking about Gen AI and how companies and enterprise and large companies should use it. We went to an example of a hot dog stand, and we went from a hot dog stand with 5 menus to now they can create a new interesting menu using ChatGPT or whatever Gen AI. I'm going like that's the benefit of a business. And I
Mm.
almost been butchering it, the example quite a bit. He had a lot. I would definitely encourage. I'm sure he'll share it when it comes out as well. It's
Yeah.
the episode was crucial for me, given it helped me understand that actually, if you really understand technology, you can make it so simple that anyone can understand. That is truly the
Mm.
power of a good storyteller and a content creator. And even
Yeah.
though I don't think he thinks he's a content creator, I think he'll be great. He's a great storyteller who can distill technology, no matter how complex it is, in such a simple way that even a 5-year-old can understand. That to me is by
Wow.
far, and I don't mean to say any of the other episodes of guests who've come in are unimportant. More in the context of that specific interview,
Yeah.
I walked away from it like, actually, like I don't think I know enough in technology that I can explain it to a 5-year-old. So I've been
Yeah.
working towards making because you know how sometimes when you meet friends and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" Like, "Oh, I work in cybersecurity." Ooh, what is that? I'm like you're trying to explain, like trying to company hacker. You know, like people are trying to hack. I'm trying to prevent. Like, are
Yeah.
you a hacker? No, not really. I'm like the other guy who's trying to stop the hackers. And like, okay,
Yeah.
like so you're not really a hacker. I'm like, well, I guess I am. So, I mean, I don't know if you go through this. I definitely go through that when I'm have to introduce myself in a party.
Yeah. Yeah. I go through the same thing. It's like these days I used to when people used to ask me, I say I'm a cloud engineer,
Oh, right.
and they're like, "What is a cloud engineer?" Like, is that? And then when I started to work, it's so much easier. I could just say cybersecurity,
Yeah,
and they're like,
yeah,
"Oh, I've heard of that."
yeah,
But
yeah.
with cloud, they just got so confused and they didn't know where to go.
Yeah, well,
But
thankfully,
that's
all the rush
amazing.
to war. But sorry, thanks for all the cybersecurity in the news. We definitely have a lot more easier
Yeah,
conversation these days.
definitely. Thanks so much, Ashish, for sharing that. And is that podcast up on the
It is.
channel
It is. I'll
at
definitely
the
share
moment?
that with you if you want to share with the audience. I think it's definitely an episode worth listening to. It's an episode we spoke about Kubernetes, which is probably a lot of people look at as very complex technology, but the way he explained it, man, I think anyone can understand Kubernetes after that. So,
Amazing.
yeah, I'll definitely share that, and hopefully people find value from it as well.
Yes, cool. That will be linked in the description once this video is released and in the comments as well. And Ashish, thanks so much. To end off, I wanted to just ask you if you had anything you wanted to promote, share, or plug. You
I
can
would
do
just
so.
plug your channel, man. I think I was looking at your YouTube channel. You've done a great job. So
Thanks
I'm
so
obviously when
much.
this episode comes out, I'll definitely share it as well. But you're definitely doing a good job, man. I don't think having done the whole full-time job and content creation, I don't think people realize how hard it is to balance the two.
Yeah,
Like you're almost, for lack of a better word, your weekends are pretty much gone because you're thinking about what else do I create with content, and because you're like,
yeah.
oh, should I just catch up with my friends and take it easy, or should I just create content? It's like having not just one job, but multiple jobs in the beginning as a content creator. So I would definitely say, I'll definitely
Oh,
give a shout out to your channel and for everyone who's basically doing some work. I'll shout out Day Johnson's channel as well. It's called Cyberworks. For people who are probably in that space, will
yes,
definitely get that.
yes,
Day's a super nice guy and he's a good friend as well. I'll definitely recommend his channel. Obviously, if you want to learn about Cloud Security Podcast has a YouTube channel. AI Cybersecurity Podcast has a YouTube channel as well. And Cloud Security
yes,
Bootcamp
yes.
hopefully has a channel as well. But definitely follow Caleb, follow Day. Those guys are doing, I mean, obviously Caleb here is doing a great job. Day is doing a great job as well. So I'll definitely shout out to both of you as well.
Of course. And Day is kind of like the inspiration for this channel. I've
Oh,
told him that
perfect.
before, and I'm like, I messaged him recently, like, "Yo, Day, come onto the podcast." And if you're watching this, Day, come onto the podcast as soon as
I'll
possible.
I'll do you a favor. I'll message him. I'll text him.
Yes,
Yeah,
let him
I'll
know.
text him. You need to go
And
on Caleb's podcast. I'll definitely let him know.
there we go. So Yeah, we're waiting for you, Dave.
No.
Ashish, thanks so much for joining, and for everyone watching, thanks so much for watching. In the comments section, let us know what creators or professionals you'd like to see on the podcast, and I'll do my best to make that happen. Ashish, thanks so much for joining us, and
No, thanks so much for
thanks
having
everyone
me.
for watching.
Thank you.